So I haven't actually finished mine, but obviously I would go once you finish with that. Now you then might want to do some other adjusting to it, like the colour, and it looks a bit faded. Just some of the, adjust some of the contrast or whatever. Okay, so there are a couple of ways that we can do adjustments to a photo in Photoshop. Now, there's we can either do it through the menu. Now, if you do it through the menu, what it means is the adjustment that you do on a photo will do it directly to that layer permanently. Okay, or you can use an adjustment layer. Okay, which are these things over here, and it's almost like a temporary adjustment to it. Okay, so, but if you add an adjustment layer, you need to save something as a Photoshop file, because to keep those layers. All right, so we'll have a look at both ways of doing that. So with this one, the colour's a bit sort of faded, just needs a bit of something. So let's go up to the image menu and adjustments. And you'll see up there's a whole bunch of different things here. And most of these are also on the adjustment layer panel as well. Well, most of them, but not all of them. Okay, now if I'm looking at a photo, one of the first things that I'll do with a photo is adjust the levels. There's also curves. Levels and curves are quite similar. Some people prefer one over the other. I think it was just, I don't know, however you learned it. But its levels is to do with exposure. There's also an exposure adjustment there as well. They do similar things, just in a slightly different way. So let's have a look at the levels. So you go to image adjustments and then levels. Now if you move that out of the way just so you can see your photo. Now if you have a look at this is called a histogram. Okay, you may have heard of a histogram before if you've taken photos at all. Okay, it's just the way that the dark and the light shows in your photo. And it's supposed to be fairly even. Okay, so you've got your darker areas down here, so it's got the dark slider thing, and you've got the white one there, and then you've got the grey mid-tones area. So ideally, it should end like where that is, so that needs to be moved up a little bit. That one's a bit over, and whatever. There are some options here. So you've got an auto button. So often when I take a photo, I'll go into levels and just click auto straight away and see what it does. Even if it's straight out of the camera, it doesn't necessarily, like you can usually do a bit more tweaking to it. In this case, because it's been scanned and faded, it definitely needs something. So if we click auto here and see what happens, and it'll automatically make it a bit darker in this instance. Okay, depending on the type of photo you've got, it might look a little bit different. You can also go into the options button. So if you click on that options button, okay, again, just move it out of the way so you can see underneath. And this is for the auto color correction option. So this is if you've chosen the auto, and it's got different options here. So at the moment it's on enhance brightness and contrast. If we have a look at the other ones, enhance monochromatic contrast, that looks a bit faded to me. Okay, and I'm assuming you would use that for a black and white photo anyway. Enhance per channel contrast, oh, I don't like that, it's too red. Fine dark and light colours, again, it's sort of reddish and a bit dark. But enhanced brightness and contrast is probably the best one in this case. Okay. So you can say OK on that one. So now you can see the preset says custom because we've done some other things. But if you look at the preset, it has got some other things there. If you wanted to play around with those, okay, but usually I find the auto button works pretty well. Okay. Now you have a look here, you can see the sliders have now moved up. Okay, so instead of the black one being at 0, it's now at 25. The white has moved slightly in the mid one, so we can see it's made it a bit darker. And you can see if I move this slider up, you can see it makes the whole thing darker. So that's what the idea is. I'll just move that back to what it was, 25. Okay. All right, so if you're happy with that, you can just say okay. Now notice that our layer, our background image, looks exactly the same. All right, so doing it through the menu means it's done that change onto that layer permanently. I should just, I don't know if I said this last week, but when you're working on photos, you should never work on your original photo. If you're going to do some changes like this to it, always make a copy of it. Okay, or open it and do a save as or something, because with digital photos, that's like your negative. If you haven't made a backup of your photos and then you go in here and you do some crazy changes and then you save it and you've saved over your original photo, well, then you've lost it. Okay, so always remember to make, I mean, hopefully if you're taking photos, you're keeping backups of them anyway, some kind of backups. Okay. All right, so doing it through the menu, so as I said, it's just done it straight on there. All right, let's undo that. Do Control Z. And now we'll do the same thing through the adjustment layers. All right, so have a look over on your panels here, and there should be one that says Adjustments. Okay, it's just above the Layers panel. Okay, and so if you put your mouse over each of those, you'll see the same sort of things: brightness and contrast, levels, curves, exposure, etc. All these things. So now let's choose the levels adjustment from here. So if you click on that one, okay, it'll put it out. You might just need to move your photo across if it's popped out the side like mine has. Okay, and now have a look in your layers panel and you'll see it's actually added an adjustment layer. Okay, and it's called it levels, you know it's levels, and you've got the levels panel coming out here. So it looks the same, it's got the histogram, it's got the auto button. Okay, so if we click auto, all right, it'll do the same thing. However, if you want to go into that options menu, the menu is actually hidden in the top right hand corner of that panel. Okay, so if you click up there, and you'll see auto options. So it's just in a different place, I guess, because it hasn't got as much room when it's in the panel. So auto options, and it's the same things that we just looked at. Okay, so we can just cancel that because we're not doing anything there. All right, so it's done that as an adjustment layer. Now, the beauty of an adjustment layer is it's a temporary change. So if I go down here to my layers panel and notice it's got an eye next to that levels layer, if I click on the eye, it'll turn off that adjustment layer and go back to the original. Okay? Whereas if you do it through the menu, it doesn't have that option. All right, so usually it's better to do it through an adjustment layer if you can. Okay, the thing is though, with this one, you'd have to save it as a Photoshop file and then save it as a JPEG. So it depends what you're doing. If you're just doing it to a photo and you just want to adjust the levels, it's fine to just save it back as a JPEG and just do the adjustment through the menu. But if you're making like a montage and you've got multiple layers of things, okay, you're going to save it as a Photoshop file anyway, so you're better off to do an adjustment layer. Okay? Now, the thing with adjustment layers, actually, let's open the car and landscape from last week. Oh, where did I save mine? I'm just going to use mine off the P. Well, you can use the one off the P drive if you want. Mine's on there in the cars folder. I just want to show you this on something that has multiple layers. Okay, if we were going to put an adjustment layer onto our car, but we didn't want, like maybe we wanted the car, I don't know, brighter or darker or more saturated or, you know, something, but we didn't want to change the background. Okay, what happens when you add an adjustment layer? So I'm going to go into hue and saturation. I'm going to change the hue of my car. So I'm going to add a hue and saturation layer. So I've clicked the car layer first. If you're looking for the one I did last week, it's in the cars folder. There's one called Annette's car. Yep. Okay, so I've just clicked on the car layer. And I'm going to add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Okay, so it's the first one on the second row there. Hue and saturation, and I'm just going to drag the hue slider like up and down to change it. But notice that it's also changing the background as well as the car. Well, that's a really nice green I've got there. I've made it into a nice green. But I don't want to change the background. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to clip that adjustment layer to just the car layer. See, at the moment, see it's on the top. When it's on the top like that, it affects everything that's underneath it. Okay, but I want to clip it to just the car layer. So what I need to do is hold the Alt key down, and then I put the mouse in between, see on the layers panel, just in between the layer and the car until I get that, it's an arrow that's pointing down and a white square. Okay, I'm holding the Alt key and I'm just putting, if you move your mouse up and down between those two layers, and you'll get, when you get in the middle of it, you'll get that thing. Did everyone get that? No, just move, are you holding the Alt key, Chris? Make sure you hold the Alt key down. Yeah, you forgot that step. Hold the Alt key and I'm not pressing the mouse yet, I'm just moving it. So you just move it up and down until you get that arrow with the white square. As soon as you get that, you can click the mouse, just one click, and you can let go of the Alt key. And notice it's now got an arrow there, it's clipped it just to that layer. Okay, so now when I change the colour of the car, it's only changing the car and not the background. Okay, so that's really handy when you want to add an adjustment layer, you know, and if you've got multi-layered things. All right, did everyone manage to get that working? Yeah, no? You want me to show you that again? Yeah, so you need to hold the Alt key. Actually, let me just undo that. Okay, so that's my original one. So have you got the layer, the adjustment layer? You haven't got the adjustment layer. Okay, if you open the car and landscape photo. Yeah, you've opened the car and landscape photo. And I just added a hue and saturation adjustment layer. And that goes right on top. So now hold the Alt key and just move your mouse there and click, and it'll clip it to that layer. Alright, so that goes for any, and the adjustment layer doesn't have to be on top. You can, remember how last week we moved layers up and down? You can do the same thing with adjustment layers. You can just drag them up and down. They just need to be directly on top of the layer that you want it to affect. And then you just Alt and it'll clip onto that layer. Yeah? Everyone's okay with that bit? Alright. Actually, I think it's probably break time. Yep.